Hi, this is the Selbachs,
It's Sebastian Selbach and
Johannes Selbach, telling you about vintage 2021.
Was a quite cool vintage. It started out to be quite cold during the first half of the year. We had a very cold spring up until May. So still April was comparatively cold and rainy. And then in June, late May, it got warmer and we got enough rain, actually too much rain, so that on the 13th and 14th of July, we got flooded in our house in Zeltingen proper. The water was getting into a cellar, into a fooder cellar, as well as into our living room, or where our own tasting room was. And it stayed there for 8 hours until it retreated. And after that, it was getting warmer a little bit and drier, but it was quite a cold summer too, same as the spring. And so we had to make plans for the harvesting, for the picking season, and finally started with our main harvest on the 4th of October. We had some Pinot Noir Rosé picked in September, but the main harvest started after the first week of October and lasted until the 6th of November. So roughly 1 month of picking time. And the temperatures were quite moderate. We had some rainfall in between, but it wasn't too rainy compared to 2020 in the picking season. And at first we were quite high on the acidity, and also the ripeness level wasn't quite there. But over time, as time progressed, we had the patience, thanks God. And during the last 2 weeks, the ripeness was also really well adapted, and we harvested quite classic in style wines, Riesling wines. And do you want to add something to this? So it's more a classic vintage also compared to 2010, which until late September was quite a warm year, similar to 2019, but then it got colder. It was in the beginning of October of 2020. So last year in 2021, we didn't have that. So it was all year, it was pretty much quite cold. We didn't have a real summer in 2021. And so the ripeness wasn't, or let's say the must wait, we didn't go as high up with the sugar levels as compared to the last 4 vintages. 20 was a little bit like 21 in terms of level of must wait, of levels of sugar, but 20 was also a little bit more crisp within the acidity, but nonetheless quite ripe at the end. And today we actually tasted through our different vats, barrels, and we can say we were quite surprised that especially for the dry Rieslings, we had wines with a nice structure, nice minerality, and really we are really looking forward to the development of those wines in the barrels. Yes.
Okay, so the tasting really, Sebastian said, surprised us. showed a classic vintage, which we didn't expect because of the cool summer. So the whole vintage comes as a very, very pleasant surprise. It's a small vintage, but the wines have beautiful structure. They have excellent acidity. And for those who like classic, elegant Mosel, 2021 is the vintage to go for. We had a slight departure from the fat, ripe, posh vintages with vintage 2020, which turned out to be a little more mineral and crisp. Back to the old style, if you will, and 2021 would even be, in my opinion now, especially after the tasting, the icing on the cake in that direction where the wines are super sleek and elegant and truly classics. There aren't so many high-end sweet wines because the season just wasn't good for it, but it was certainly perfect for grapes that were greenish yellow with, you know, a moderate juice extraction, but excellent dry extract, which shows on the flavor. So we are particularly pleased with the dry Rieslings. That's something that we've seen in the past few years to really come of age and become truly excellent. And this year is certainly another step forward in that direction. We're actually thrilled with these wines. And then everything you'd expect from Selbach-Oster, there's some very, very nice cabinets, true cabinet. There is some nice Spätlese, and the pyramid gets very thin at the top with not so many Ausleses and just a smattering of BA and TBA. But definitely, in the end, a super pleasant surprise after a lousy, shall we say, beginning where our expectations were very low.
Yeah. And we also tried to make ice wine as well this year, or let's say last year, 21. I think was 2 days before.
22nd of December.
22nd of December, we almost could harvest ice wine.
But we didn't because we missed 1 degree centigrade and the grapes are still out. And we hope for cold weather. In fact, today, we are relaxed and relieved because we were going to have another flood, but we're at a standstill and the weather is turning colder and we're supposed to get some frost. So maybe that will push us to ice wine temperatures, which would be the perfect, so is a happy ending of the vintage. Quantity is moderate, like I said, because we had quite a bit of trouble during the growing season where, you know, the cool and wet weather caused a lot of trouble and stress to keep the foliage healthy. If you look at the vintage total in all of Germany or Europe, it's a very mixed bag. You find some that are happy and you find some that are not so happy. And tasting through the vintage, you will find that there are more, shall we say, peaks and valleys than in previous vintages where it was easy to make good wine. So definitely worth seeking out a good source. And this is where I think reliability and consistency of quality plays well into the wines. For us, I think we can both agree after today, having the wines at room temperature, not in the cellar, was a fantastic tasting. So perfect day to say vintage 2021 at Selbach-Oster is a big success and something to look forward to. Yes. With that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you, Johannes and Sebastian.